Hello and welcome to the conclusion of Head, Scales, Tongue, Tail by Leigh Bardugo. So we've met Gracie and Eli when they were, I think, 14 or 15. It was summer. Gracie thought she saw a lake monster. Eli is the weird kid of Little Spindle who researches these mythical creatures. So together they start off just by researching. It's called Idgy Pidgy, trying to figure out if it's real. And that, of course, has turned into a sort of summer romance because, again, they don't spend the school year together, just the summer. So now Gracie has feelings for him, but it seems like Eli does not have those same feelings for Gracie. So we have 2 sections to go. They're called Tail and Heart. So I'm going to start with Tail. A week after school started, Gracie went to see Anna Leigh. She hadn't known that she meant to, but she ended up in the fluorescent lights of the Dairy Queen just the same. She didn't order. She wasn't hungry. She slid into the booth and said, "How do I get better? How do I make this stop hurting?" Anna Leigh set down her crossword. "You should say goodbye." "It's too late. He's gone." "Sometimes it helps to say it anyway." "Can you tell me, did he ever feel the way I did?" Anna Leigh tapped her pen gently on Gracie's hand. "Some of us wear our hearts. Some of us carry them." Gracie sighed. Had she really expected Anna Leigh could make her feel better? This town was full of sham monsters, fake witches, stories that were just stories. But anything was worth a try. Though the weather was still warm, the main road was quiet. And as she turned onto the narrow dirt path that led to her cove, the woods seemed almost forlorn, as if they were keeping the last watch of summer. She felt guilty. This had been her cove, nameless and comforting before Eli. "Where have you been?" the pine needles whispered. She leaned her back against a tree at the clearing and walked down to the shore. It didn't feel like sanctuary anymore. Hadn't Mosey said the lake was haunted? The cove felt full of ghosts she wished she could banish. She had so many good memories with Eli. Did she have to lose all of those, too? That was when Gracie heard it. A single, soft exhalation. That might have been a breeze. Then another. A rasping breath. She peered past the shady banks. A body lay slumped in the shallows. She didn't remember moving. Only that one moment she was standing, stunned on the shore, and the next she was on her knees in the water. "Eli!" she cried. "You came. What happened? What is this?" He was so pale he was nearly blue, his veins too close to the surface of his skin. "I shouldn't have waited. I get 3 months. That's the rule." "What rule?" "I wanted to say goodbye." "Eli, I was selfish. I didn't want you to go to the city. I needed you to look forward to. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Gracie. The winters get so long." "Eli, I have my phone. I can call. I'm dying now, so I can tell you." "You're not dying," Gracie shouted. "You're dehydrated or you have hypothermia." But even as she said it, she realized the water was warmer than it should be. "It was me that day. You were skipping stones. You'd skinned your knee. I saw you just for a second. It was the last day of May." His eyelids stuttered open, shut. "I shouldn't have kissed you, but I wanted to for so long. It was better than ice cream. It was better than books." She was crying now. "Eli, please, let me—" "It's too late." "Who says?" He gave the barest shrug. It became a shudder. "The lake. 3 months to walk the land, but always I must return to her." Gracie's mind flew back to that day at the cove, the creature in the water. It was impossible. "There are no books below," he said. "No words, no language. No Dairy Queen, no bicycles, no music. It couldn't be." Gracie blinked, and Eli's form seemed to flicker, ghostly almost, part boy and part something else. She remembered Anna Leigh tapping her hand with the pen. "Some of us wear our hearts. Some of us carry them." Gracie's eyes scanned the beach, the tangle of brambles where the woods began. There, a dark little hump in the leaves. She'd never seen him without it, that ugly purple backpack, and in that moment, she knew. She scrambled for it, fell, righted herself, grabbed it open, and split the zipper wide. It gaped like a mouth. It was full of junk. Skee-ball tickets, mini-golf scorecards, a pink and gold lip gloss tin. But there at the bottom, glinting like a hidden moon, she pulled it from the bag, a long, papery cape of scales that seemed to go on, glittering and sharp beneath her fingers, surprising in its weight. She dragged it toward Eli, trailing it behind her, stumbling through the shallows. She pulled his body close and wrapped it around him. "Here," she sobbed. "Here." 3 months, he said. "No more." "It was only a few days." "Leave Little Spindle, Gracie. Get free of this place." "No," she shouted at the lake, at no one at all. "We can make a trade." Eli's hand gripped her wrist. "Stop." "You can have me too." "Gracie, don't." The water lapped against her thighs with its own slow pulse, warm as blood, warm as a womb, and she knew what to do. She curled herself into the cloak of scales beside Eli, letting its edges slice into her arms, letting her own blood drip into the water. "Take me too," she whispered. "Too late," said Eli. His eyes closed. He smiled. It was worth it. Then the hand around her wrist flexed tight, retracted. Gracie watched it stretch and lengthen, a talon, razor sharp. Eli's eyes flew open. The smell of rain clouds reached her, then the rumble of thunder, the roar of a river unleashed. The rush of water filled her ears as Eli's body shifted, blurred, shimmered in the fading light. He rose above her, reeling back on the muscular coils of his body, a great snake, a serpent of gleaming white scales, his head like a nodding dragon, his back split by iridescent fins that spread like wings behind him. "Eli," she tried to say, but the sound that left her mouth wasn't human. She raised a hand to her throat, but her arms were too short, the wrong shape. She turned and felt her body, strange and strong, thrash through the shallows as her back arched. In the sunlit water, she glimpsed her reflection, her scales deep gray and alive with rainbows, her fins the bruised violet of twilight, a veil of starlight cast against the darkening sky. She was monstrous. She was lovely. It was her last human thought. She was diving into the water. She was curled around. Who was this? Eli. The dim echo of a name, something more ancient and unpronounceable, lived at the base of her brain. It didn't matter. She could feel the slide of his scales over hers as they slipped deeper into the lake, into the pull of the current, together. This is the last section, and it is titled Heart. When they found her bicycle leaning against a pine near Little Spindle, Annalie did her best to explain to Gracie's mother. Of course, her mother still called the police. They even sent divers into the lake. The search was fruitless, though one of them claimed that something far too big to be a fish had brushed up against his leg. Gracie and Eli had summers, 3 perfect months every year, to feel the grass beneath their feet and the sun on their bare human shoulders. They picked a new city each summer, but they returned most often to Manhattan, where they'd visit with Annalie and Gracie's flummoxed mother in a penthouse on the Upper East Side, and try not to stare at their beautiful host with her running water skin and river green eyes. When fall came, they shed their names with their bodies and traveled the waters of the world. The lake hated to give them up. She threatened to freeze solid and bind them there, but they were 2 now, monsters of the deep, with lashing tails and glittering eyes, and the force they created between them smashed old rules and new arguments. They slipped down the Mohawk to the Hudson, past the river god with his sloped gray shoulders, and out into the Atlantic. They met polar bears in the Arctic, frightened manatees near the Florida Keys. They curled together in a knot, watching the dream lights of the jellyfish off the coast of Australia. Sometimes, if they spotted a passenger leaning on the rails of a freighter by himself, they might even let themselves be seen. They'd breach the waves, let the moonlight catch their hides, and the stranger would stand for a moment, mouth agape, heart alive, his loneliness forgotten. The end. All right, you guys probably know that I really like this story because it's a little bit like a mermaid tale, and you know I love mermaids. So I hope you enjoyed this sort of long short story. Again, this was called Head, Scales, Tongue, Tail by Leigh Bardugo. And if you enjoyed it, you should check out more of her books. Or you can check out this collection of short stories. I got it from the Libby app. All right, thanks for listening. See you next time.